While Tesla and BYD were racing to build bigger batteries, Mercedes made a move that no one saw coming. Not a press conference, not a flashy reveal, just a quiet confirmation that changes everything. The YASA Flux motor is real. And if you don't know what that means yet, you're about to understand why the entire EV industry just woke up sweating. Here's what most people don't realize about electric motors. Every EV you've seen, BYD, Rivian, doesn't matter, uses basically the same motor design, long cylindrical, like a water bottle standing upright in the car. It works, but it takes up space. A lot of space. That motor dictates where the battery goes, where the wheels sit, how the cabin is shaped. The whole car is designed around it. Now, imagine flipping that entire concept on its head. The YASA Flux motor isn't shaped like a bottle. It's shaped like a dinner plate. Flat, thin, compact. You might be thinking, okay, so what? It's just a different shape. But here's where it gets interesting. That flat design means engineers can put the motor almost anywhere. Near the wheels, under the floor, directly in the drivetrain. Suddenly, the car isn't designed around the motor anymore. The motor fits around the car, and here's the part that matters. It's not just smaller, it's lighter, and it produces more power. That sounds impossible, but it's not, because the Flux motor doesn't waste energy the way traditional motors do. Most motors lose electricity as heat. The Flux motor channels almost all of it into motion. Less waste, more power, same battery. Now, let's talk about the thing no one mentions when they're selling you an EV. Battery degradation. Every battery dies, slowly, over years, and the main thing that kills it, stress. Heat, overwork, constant high demand. Traditional motors pull hard from the battery, generate heat, and that heat slowly wears the battery down. You buy an EV with 300 miles of range, 5 years later, it's 240, then 200. Here's where the Flux motor does something different. Because it's so efficient, it doesn't pull as hard. It runs cooler. It puts less strain on the battery. Same charge, same battery size, but less stress. What does that actually mean? It means your battery lasts longer, not by months, by years. We're talking about a battery that's still performing well after 7 years, instead of degrading after 4. And here's the kicker. You don't need a bigger battery to get more range. You just need a smarter motor. That's the shift. That's the thing Mercedes understood that everyone else missed. The EV race wasn't about who could build the biggest battery. It was about who could make the battery work less. So why does this matter for Tesla and BYD? Because their entire strategy just got challenged. Tesla built its reputation on one thing, the best motors in the game. Instant torque, smooth power delivery. That's what separated them from everyone else. But if Mercedes starts putting Flux motors in their cars, that advantage shrinks. Suddenly you've got a Mercedes EV that's lighter, quieter, and just as fast, maybe faster. And it's not just about specs, it's about feel. Tesla customers tolerate a lot panel gaps, service issues, minimalist interiors because the driving experience is worth it. But what happens when a Mercedes drives just as well, looks better, and feels more refined? That's pressure. Now let's talk about BYD. BYD's genius has been cost. They make their own batteries. They build at scale. They can undercut almost anyone on price. Their strategy: put a massive battery in the car, offer crazy range, win on value. But here's the problem. If the Flux motor can get the same range out of a smaller battery, BYD's advantage starts to fade. A smaller battery costs less, weighs less, charges faster. Suddenly, the company that wins isn't the one with the biggest battery, it's the one with the most efficient motor. That's a different game, and BYD isn't set up to play it yet. This isn't just about one motor, it's about where the competition is headed. The race is shifting from who has more range to who builds the better driving machine. And that's a race Mercedes knows how to win. So, here's the question everyone's asking. When will this actually show up in a car you can buy? Mercedes isn't going to put this in a base model EQA and call it a day. They're going to do what they always do. Test it where it matters most. AMG has always been Mercedes' proving ground. The place where they push technology to the limit before it trickles down. And the Flux motor is perfect for AMG. Lighter weight, instant torque, aggressive power delivery. Imagine an AMG EV that's already fast, but now it's 200 pounds lighter and has even sharper response. That's the car that gets the Flux motor first. After that, the premium EQ lineup, the high-end sedans and SUVs, where customers are willing to pay for something different. These are buyers who don't just want an EV, they want the best EV. And here's the thing. Once Mercedes proves the technology works in those cars, the cost comes down, production scales up, supply chains stabilize, and eventually, the same motor that debuted in a $120,000 AMG ends up in a $50,000 mainstream EV. That's how it always works. Airbags started in S-Class models, now they're in every car. ABS, stability control, adaptive cruise, all of them started at the top and moved down. The Flux motor will follow the same path, and when it does, the average EV buyer won't just be getting the same motor that was in a luxury car, they'll be getting longer battery life, better efficiency, and a completely different driving experience, not in 20 years, in 5. So here's the real question. What if the entire EV industry has been competing in the wrong race? For the last decade, every company has been obsessed with batteries, bigger, faster, charging, longer range. And customers bought into it, because that's what we were told mattered. But what if the battery was never the bottleneck? What if the motor was? Think about it. You can have the biggest battery in the world, but if your motor is inefficient, you're just hauling round dead weight. The Flux motor flips that assumption. It says, don't make the battery bigger, make the motor smarter. And if that's true, then we're not just looking at a new motor, we're looking at a new generation of EVs, cars that are lighter, more efficient, and longer lasting. Not because of the battery, because of everything around it. Mercedes didn't just build a better motor, they changed the question, and the companies that don't realize that, they're already behind. The YASA Flux motor isn't just a technical upgrade, it's a signal that the first chapter of the EV race is over, and the second one is about to begin. Tesla and BYD built their empires on one set of rules. Mercedes is betting those rules are about to change, and if they're right, everything we thought we knew about electric vehicles is about to get rewritten. The question isn't whether this technology will spread, it's how fast, and whether the companies that aren't ready will survive what comes next. Let's go deeper, because there's a layer to this that most people aren't talking about yet. Mercedes didn't just buy YASA for the motor, they bought it for control. In the gasoline era, power came from one place, the engine. If you controlled engine technology, you controlled your destiny. Mercedes built their reputation on that. Their engines were legendary, and they never had to rely on anyone else to make them. But when EVs started taking over, that control disappeared. Suddenly, companies were buying battery cells from LG Motors, from Bosch, software from third parties. The car became an assembly of other people's technology, and Mercedes hated that. Because here's what happens when you don't control the core technology. You lose flexibility. If your supplier raises prices, you eat the cost. If they can't deliver on time, your production line stops. If they fall behind on innovation, you fall behind too. Tesla understood this early. That's why they built their own motors, their own battery packs, their own software. It gave them speed. It gave them control. Mercedes saw that, and they knew they needed the same thing. But they didn't want to just copy Tesla's motor. They wanted something better. That's where YASA came in. Now, here's the part that should make every legacy automaker nervous. This isn't just about Mercedes anymore. If the Flux motor works the way it's supposed to, other companies are going to want in. That means one of two things happens. Either they license the technology from Mercedes, makes Mercedes very powerful, or they scramble to develop their own version, which takes years and burns through cash. Either way, Mercedes just changed the timeline for everyone. Think about BMW, Audi, Porsche, Jaguar. They're all working on their own EV strategies. But if Mercedes suddenly has a motor that's objectively better, what do? Do they stick with their current suppliers and hope it's good enough? Or do they admit they're behind and try to catch up? That's the position Mercedes just put them in. And it's not just the luxury brands. Ford, GM, Hyundai, Volkswagen, they've all made massive bets on EV, billions of dollars in factories, battery plants, partnerships. But those bets were based on the assumption that EV technology would evolve slowly, incrementally. The Flux motor says, maybe not, maybe there's a leap coming, and if you're not ready for it, your whole strategy falls apart. Now, let's bring this back to the person who actually buys the car, because at the end of the day, None of this matters if customers don't care. So here's the test. Imagine you're shopping for an EV. You've got $60,000 to spend. You walk into a Tesla showroom. The Model S is sleek, fast as 400 miles of range. Then you walk into a Mercedes dealership.